DeFi Slate team.
What's up, y'all? Real quick, if you like the DeFi Slate content on Twitter and YouTube and Substack, please give us a like and a subscribe on this video on YouTube. Join our channel, join the community. We'd really appreciate it. We're pumping this stuff out for y'all as much as we can, and we really enjoy the support and the community that we've built. Thank you very much and enjoy.
What's up, y'all? It's your boy Andy. We're back with Tascha from Alpha Finance. It's another video. This one's going to be hype because V2 is out. And with that comes a bunch of new updates and upgrades, all sorts of new things happening. I mean, all I know is every other day on Twitter, I see a blog post from Tascha about this new feature, this new integration, this new product. Absolute ship and drip queen here. And I'm smiling when I say that. How you doing, Tascha?
Doing well, working hard as always. And, you know, that's the same with everyone in DeFi. Yeah,
I mean, it's been 24/7 as of recent, and it's been real good to see kind of the evolution of this collaboration, kind of, you know, working together. Apes are together strong kind of mindset. It's been really good to see that actually come to fruition and work out. So if you could, just before we hop into V2 and go over what's going on, I'm sure the audience would kind of love to hear just a quick primer of how you view Alpha, you know, the swap and the earn and the Alpha X and all the parts, kind of what it is and kind of how you got to this point. Real quick, short and sweet, and then we'll hop right in.
Sure. So what's unique, in my opinion, about Alpha Finance Lab is we're not focusing in one particular area. We're actually focusing on the end goal of what all of these Alpha products can achieve for the users. So the end goal, you know, is how do we have all of these products work together to maximize the returns and minimize the downside exposure. So as a result, that's how Alpha Homora comes in, that's how Alpha X comes in, and more other products would work together to achieve that goal, right? So, you know, just a quick example, Alpha Homora already allows you to maximize your yields. However, with maximizing yields, users can also have their risks be amplified if they choose the wrong pools. So, you know, if they are able to hedge their risk on Alpha X, that would be an ideal financial product suite. So that is the synergy that Alpha X would also bring to Alpha Homora. And then the other Alpha products will continue to bring more synergies to the whole ecosystem.
Cool. So would you say the goal for the interoperability is basically just to create products under the Alpha Homora or the Alpha Finance Lab ecosystems that allow users to effectively have like a full suite of DeFi to allow them to increase their yields and basically, you know, operate within the system?
Yeah, increase the yields and minimize their downsides.
Cool. Mm-hmm. Nice. What's up, Rob?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Good morning, brother.
Good morning.
Hi, Rob.
Hey there, how we doing?
We're thinking about, I think we're going to hop onto a demo of V2. So whenever you're ready, Tascha, if you want to pull it up and share your screen, we can do that.
Yep. Okay.
So yeah, Alpha Homora, I mean, there's a whole bunch of products. I mean, we're super psyched. So here we go with V2. Cool. So what are we looking at here, Tascha?
So it's, you know, a different site from V1, the whole new interface, a whole new functionalities, and a lot more pools. So let me just give you a quick walkthrough, right? With here, we're at the dashboard, so you can see all the major important information about Alpha Homora V2, from the total value lock to all the positions. And then you would see here on the right would be anything related to your active positions. So you know, if you have positions open, it would show up on here, and you can see all the important information. So these are where the farming pools would go. Right now we have 4 farms going on, and then as we roll out more, as we continue to migrate, there would be more pools, right? The differences between V1 and V2 are not just, you know, nicer user interface, a cleaner UI, but also you can see here that we are supporting not only Uniswap and SushiSwap AMM protocols, but we're also supporting Balancer and Curve. So that means that the farming pools or liquidity providing pools that we can support are a lot more than before. So that's on a high level. The difference is more on the lower level is if you click onto, for instance, this curve 3 pool, you will see that you are supplying now stable coins. So it's not only just limited to ETH pairs anymore. And then when you go to the second step on the borrowing side, which we cannot go here, but then I'm just gonna skip through this page here, which is the doc that we're writing right now. When you go to the second step, you would be able to borrow, multiple assets. So for instance, in this case, right, it's DAI and ETH. So you are not only bound to just borrowing ETH, so you can pick which of the assets you want to borrow in what proportion. So that can be good for you to manage your risk depending on a different risk profile. So that's also something nicer, is because you don't have to just only borrow ETH and short on ETH if you don't want that position, right?
Yeah, I saw y'all tweet this morning about that. Just the FYI, guys, when you're going into, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, Tascha, when you're going into the ETH pools that are leveraged yield farming, you're effectively net short ETH by way of the AMM rebalancing your position. So just be aware of that when ETH goes on big runs. You have to understand that your leverage pool could be at risk. But here is kind of the explainer here. I'll let Tascha take it away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so what happens when you go on leverage is that, let's say, for instance, if you only supply ETH, for instance, and you're farming on ETH sushi, and you take 2x leverage, then Alpha Homora would borrow 1 more ETH here for you. So as a result, you would have 2 ETH right here, as opposed to having 1 to begin with. Right. And then Alpha Homora would help you swap to make sure that you have equal value of both ETH and sushi before supplying to the liquidity providing pool, because that's how the AMM works. So because of this, you would see that Alpha Homora would sell 1 of the ETH into sushi for your position, so that your position can provide into the liquidity providing pool. So what Andy was saying is that, if ETH has a nice run, then that means that your debt, which is the ETH that's being borrowed here, will be valued at a higher value than before. So that can be in a position where some users may not be happy about, and that's pretty much why we are also expanding Homora V1 to not only just borrowing ETH, but you can borrow other assets.
Yeah.
So for Curve, you can borrow any of these assets.
Yeah. For
Perp USDC, you can borrow USDC only. So depending on the pool, it would be different for each pool.
Yeah, the borrowing of the stablecoins is huge, but then you're effectively in a net long position too. So you kind of got to choose your battle. But you can, I see how you can now hedge, right? Like if you do one pool with X amount, and say you have a neutral to a bullish bias, right? You can do more into a pool where you borrow stables, and you can do less into a pool where you borrow ETH. So you can kind of hedge your own risk there while also optimizing for maximum ROI.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's
correct.
Cool.
And then another thing that's different in V2 is also that the leverage is a lot higher than V1, and that's because we are taking leverage on stable coins as well, right? So if you can see here, let's say in V1, right, this is only limited to 2.5. In here, it would extend higher. Yeah. I don't want to go into the detail much, but that's because of how V2 operates totally different from V1. We found a lot of optimization points that we can do to be able to offer higher leverage, but still be really, really safe still. So it's pretty much, you cannot compare the leverage that we offer to V1 and think that, oh, it's riskier. But mainly it's because the V2 itself is running at a very different way than how V1 runs.
Right. Let me ask you something on that, Tascha. So say I've got a few pools open, right? A few farms that are levered up, 2, 3, 4, 5, even up to 9 times as we can on V2 now. How do I, if possible, whether it's requiring a bot or if I can do it on my own, right? Is there a way that I can automatically kind of manage my farms to avoid the liquidation that could happen when ETH, would go up or go down? It depends on what borrower. Is there a way that I can kind of automatically, just create and manage my position so I avoid a liquidation?
Mm-hmm. So when you click on your positions page, you would see a number of things that you can do. So add, if you click add, then you will be able to add your collateral. So pretty much deleverage your position. So by doing so, you would not be liquidated. You would be, further away from liquidation point. Remove, this has two meanings of it, and that's why we explain it at the bottom here. So, by removing as a first step in the remove model, you would be able to withdraw your liquidity. So that means that your leverage position will be at a higher leverage. Right. But you will be able to, pretty much close partially of your position. The second thing in this remove model, if you also want to do it, is just pay back the loans. So by doing so, you would also be deleveraging your position and be farther away from the liquidation risk.
Yeah. So
that's pretty much what you can.
But you would effectively be, not you wouldn't have a lot of debt, but you would still be in the pool if you did option 2.
Correct. Yes. And then we're also adding another option in terms of adding more, pretty much borrow more. So re-leveraging in your same position. So that would be another feature that we're going to add as well. One thing to note here is we also have a harvest button. And that's because the farmed tokens in V2 are not automatically sold into your position and then compounded. This is pretty much mainly for the purpose of allowing users to claim these tokens for other purposes as well, maybe governance, maybe staking. Let's say like Curve, they have their other utilities for you to use their CRV token to get more yields with it. So that's why we have this option for the user.
Nice. Nice, yeah, and I mean, you could use the harvest to reinvest into the pool, or to go to other pools, or to sell. Yeah, exactly, or to add to your collateral if you needed. Nice, cool. Okay, so I feel like we've got a pretty good understanding of the farming pools, the V2, kind of what's here. So yeah, that's where I was getting at. Let's go to the lending aspect.
Yeah, this is where it gets more interesting and a lot more different than V1. So you can see here that, in V2, we have more than just IB-ETH, in which it's called IB-ETH V2 now. Pretty much all of these assets come from the fact that leveraged users are able to leverage on these assets. So as a result, the leveraged users are the one paying these borrowing fee. So if you go on Curve 3 pool, you can borrow DAI, USDT, USDC, so the 3 stable coins. If you go on to these Uniswap, Uni-ETH, or SushiSwap, Sushi-ETH, you can borrow ETH. So that's why we have 4 assets that borrowers can borrow. So as a result, there are 4 assets right now that lenders can lend. So as we continue to add more pools, which will also correlate to more assets that users can borrow to leverage their yield farming positions, then we would see more lending assets in the earn page.
Cool.
Tascha,
Yeah.
I'm really curious how Iron Bank plays into your lending architecture. I've heard a lot about Iron Bank and how it can facilitate under collateralized loans, but I'm not exactly sure how it works. Could you explain that a little bit? I saw it in the docs page.
Yeah. So to go back to V1, everything lending and borrowing takes place on ETH, right? That's why there is only ETH lender and not USDT lender. And at the same time, opposite side, for the borrowers, that's why when you leverage positions on Alpha Homora V1, you can only borrow ETH because the lending pool on Alpha Homora V1 is limited to just ETH. And then we think that in order for us to scale and allow users to borrow even more assets, instead of having to bootstrap those liquidity ourselves, it would be a lot faster to grow and scale if we were to partner with a lending protocol. So that's where 𝗵𝗵𝗏 or Iron Bank comes in. Pretty much Iron Bank allows Alpha Homora, or pretty much whitelist Alpha Homora's V2 contract to be able to borrow from 𝗵𝗵𝗏 without having to over collateralize. There is still collateral, but just under collateralized. So it works pretty much very similarly to Alpha Homora V1. Just the difference is that it's not limited to the lending pool on Alpha Homora V1, but it's limited to the lending pool on 𝗵𝗵𝗏, which expands beyond just ETH. So what that means is that when you lend all these assets would be further lent on the Iron Bank or 𝗵𝗵𝗏. And the interest rates that you're getting here are the interest rates that 𝗵 gives you plus a bit more. And that's where the tokenomics would come in. But I don't want to talk too much on that yet. But right now, the rates are the same. But in the future, the rates on here would be higher. And which goes back to here in terms of the borrowing APY. So these are also the rates that Iron Bank or 𝗵𝗵𝗏 charges Alpha Homora. And Alpha Homora charges a bit of premium on top to distribute to the lenders here.
Nice. Cool. Yeah, that Iron Bank concept is huge in DeFi. That's probably like the first big one that's under collateralized. That that's just a huge concept that is going to be extrapolated on just time and time again as we can. And I love to see it with your APY. So just kind of a quick recap. The APYs here are a result of people taking a leverage position on V2, right? Which they have to pay an APY to borrow whatever they're borrowing. They pay that APY. That APY is distributed to the folks who are those who are supplying it, and then it's also the folks who are supplying their assets are going to Iron Bank to earn the 𝗵 APY as well, and then a bit more on top in terms of a little premium. And so that's kind of where these numbers are coming from. And the last thing that I have is for those who aren't already in a position of supplying, is this paid out in more 𝗵_ETH, more 𝗵_DAI? Is it paid out in alpha? What's the interest paid out in?
Yeah, it's paid out in the assets that you supply in. So 𝗵_ETH is, you can think of it as similar to 𝗵_ETH in Compound.
Right.
So it represents a share of the lending pool, which the lending pool continued to grow because of more lending interest rate being accumulated. So when you take out or convert this 𝗵_ETH V2 back to ETH by withdrawing your liquidity, then you would get more ETH back.
Right. Cool. It's kind of like the 𝗵𝗵𝗀𝗀𝗃 way back when. That was kind of like the first concept that I saw of like, okay, you put in the asset and you end up withdrawing with more. Okay, cool. So then kind of on the piggyback of that question for the token holders out there, I know you said the tokenomics you kind of want to get into, or you don't, you can answer as you please, but where do the alpha token holders, where is their benefit shared from V2?
So I'm gonna talk on a high level first, because that's being developed right now. Okay. And once it's done, we want to announce to our community then. Right. But the tokenomics would come in both from the lender's side and also from the yield farmers side. So we are gonna make sure that no matter how you use Alpha Homora V2, you would be able to benefit from alpha tokenomics.
Got it. Okay, cool. So there's a DeFi investing game that is, you are positioning yourself for future cash flows, or you're playing the greater fool theory. And one could say that with this and with that explanation and with the eventual announcement for the token holders, right, you're positioning yourself for future cash flows, which is ultimately in my opinion, the end goal of what DeFi is going to be. I mean, it's the end goal of the first inning, in my opinion. And so, that's definitely good to hear. Yeah, I mean, dang, we just covered a whole lot. I mean, wow. Robbie, do you have any questions? Or Tascha, do we not go over anything?
I think one thing is the migration page. So we make sure that we create a an easy user interface for V1 users to be able to migrate easily. So pretty much if you go to Alpha Homora V1 site, you would see a number of migrating or migration buttons. So if you click on these positions or on these buttons, it would prompt you to this migration page, which is automatically synced with what positions or what lending assets you have on V1. So let's say if you are lending IB ETH, or if you're lending ETH on Alpha Homora V1, so as a result, you are now holding IB ETH token. You would be able to just click migrate to V2. It will prompt you through the steps, so you can just follow the steps. And then the final step would just be the confirmation for the whole transaction. And then you would see your earn showed up on here for IB ETH V2. So that's on the lending part. The positions part would be similar. So there will be a migrate button for the pools that we are migrating. We're not migrating every pool at the same time to make sure that the migration process is smooth. So if the pool is in the process of migrating, then you can click on the button and then proceed through the steps. If not, then you have to wait until the pool gets migrated.
Cool. Nice.
Gotcha.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I really didn't have too many questions. I mean, Tascha, that was a great demo, and I guess if you could go back to the dashboard just real quick. Well, you stopped screen sharing, but it seemed like some of the APYs, let's see, like the bottom two, have a bit less of, or excuse me, I guess it's only the 3-curve pool that has a borrow APY that is greater than its lending APY. And I was just curious, without diving too much into the math, why that was the case. If it was a matter of the stable coin versus, potential for volatility, or if it was for another reason that the 3 pools other than the 3-curve pool had a borrow APY that was less than the lending APY, but the curve pool was set up a little bit differently.
So these these APYs are showing if you were to take max leverage, because we don't know what leverage you're going to take. So we're showing the max leverage, and these are the fees that you would have to pay or would earn with the max leverage, right? So let's say in this curve 3 pool, you are seeing this high APY because in curve 3 pool, we are actually allowing, pretty high leverage around 9x. So with 9x, it's the borrow APY, the normal borrow APY times 9. So that's why you can see it's, pretty high. But then that means that when you actually open the farm position, you don't have to take 9x. You can take like 5x, and then the borrow APY will be different. The U-farming APY will also be different. But then as the final step, we make sure that the users know what their strategy they're going for by having this confirmation page. So when you click the farm model, you would be prompted through these steps. The first step is supply the token. Second step is borrow, which it's a step where you also take the leverage level. And then the third step here is to confirm. So you would see by your strategy how much you're actually getting. So this can be different from the APYs that are shown on the dashboard, because the dashboard is assuming that you're taking the max leverage.
Gotcha. Yeah. And not because of a reason of market volatility, but simply just the leverage. That makes sense. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it makes sense that one's the highest too, because that one's only stables, because obviously the borrow rate for stables right now, because we're in just full-fledged bull mode, is obviously high across everywhere.
Yeah,
it makes sense.
Yep. I mean, that compared with also they allow you to take much more leverage on stable coins, which makes sense.
Yeah,
correct.
Cool, Tascha. Yeah, I mean, that demo was awesome. You can close the screen share if you like. Wrapping it up here. Yeah, I mean, great demo for those that are still here. We appreciate you watching. I mean, what's up with the next few months, Tascha? How are you guys looking? We got a tokenomics kind of update, big community push there. How's the hiring? How's the team? How's everything going? How are you doing in the head? Are you doing well? Are you tired, Tascha?
Well, I think it's more of, we're all pretty like motivated and also dedicated to what we do. So yeah, there are a lot of things to do for sure, and I think that's the same with every project, right? And yeah, we're happy still, so don't worry about us. In terms of the what's coming up next in the next few months, a lot more pools, a lot more partners on Alpha Homora v2. Currently, right now, we're working with a number of partners, doing a lot of things in behind the scene. So all of those things should go live within the next few months. Tokenomics as well, as you mentioned, and also more alpha products. So 𝗹𝗶𝗃𝗃 is the one that we've been talking about, and also in the private testnet. So that would be the next priority in terms of the product line too.
Nice. And is that going to run on 𝗃𝗃 or Arbitrum, or is that going to be on L2?
So yeah, we're exploring which L2 it's going to be run on, and then how feasible it is, depending on our timeline and everything. Yep.
Cool. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, Tascha, we appreciate you coming on for a second time. I'm sure we'll do this again in a few weeks or a few months, and that demo was awesome. Congrats on V2. It's absolutely amazing. I know, I love it. I'm a pretty avid user of all these things, and V2's been blowing my mind, as well as, the little alpha run that's been happening, but we won't get into that too much. I mean, hey, good stuff, guys.
Okay, thank you so much, and thanks for having me again.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Tascha. Appreciate you coming on as always.
Peace, y'all.
Yeah, no worries. Glad to hear that 𝗵𝗶𝗴𝗵-𝗾 is growing really fast.
Oh, we're going, babe.